The president of Microsoft's Windows division just admitted something in public that his communications team cannot walk back. On November 10, 2025, Pavan Davuluri, the man Bill Gates' company put in charge of the operating system running on more than 1 billion computers, posted that Windows was evolving into an agentic operating system. He expected applause. He got 400 replies of fury from the developers and engineers who build the products that run on Windows. The comments were disabled within hours, but the silence that followed was worse for Microsoft than the backlash. Days later, Davuluri posted again, and this time his language changed. He wrote, "We know we have a lot of work to do on the experience, everyday usability, inconsistent dialogues." Power user experiences. Read that carefully. The president of Windows just told the world that the operating system shipped on virtually every non-Apple computer for 3 decades cannot handle its basic functions reliably. That admission did not happen in isolation. It came 1 month after the Australian government sued Microsoft in federal court for deceiving 2.7 million customers. It came 4 months after Microsoft quietly broke Windows 11 Start menu, taskbar, and File Explorer on millions of machines, and said nothing. It also came the same week Dell announced a flagship laptop would ship on Ubuntu Linux, while the Windows 11 version was not ready. In this investigation, we're going to expose 3 things. Microsoft hoped you would never connect. The hidden support article that proves your Windows 11 machine has been broken since July. The government lawsuit that shows Microsoft will charge you for features you never agreed to, and what Dell's decision to ship Linux first tells you about where the PC industry's confidence in Windows actually stands. Let's start with what Pavan Davuluri never wanted you to read. For 30 years, Microsoft's communication strategy around Windows followed a consistent formula. Problems were known issues under investigation. Failures were being addressed in an upcoming patch. The operating system was always improving. The roadmap was always promising. And the people at the top were always enthusiastic. That formula ended on November 10th, 2025. Pavan Davuluri, the president of Windows and Devices at Microsoft, posted on X that Windows was evolving into an agentic OS, connecting devices, cloud, and AI to unlock intelligent productivity and secure work anywhere. It was a standard promotional message tied to the Microsoft Ignite conference. The response was not standard. Within hours, the replies numbered in the hundreds. Developers, engineers, IT administrators, and ordinary users who had spent years fighting Windows 11's forced updates, broken print drivers, and mandatory Microsoft account requirements all arrived at once. "Stop this nonsense," one post read. "No one wants this." Another said, "Bro, straight up, nobody wants this." Davuluri disabled the comments. But the post had already been seen 700,000 times, and shutting down the replies only made the backlash louder, as users reposted with more hostility, calling out Microsoft for silencing the people it needed to listen to most. Days later, Davuluri posted again. He addressed the feedback directly. He wrote that he had read through the comments and saw focus on things like reliability, performance, ease of use, and more. And then came the sentence that Microsoft's leadership had spent years carefully avoiding. "We know we have a lot of work to do on the experience, both on the everyday usability, from inconsistent dialogues to power user experiences." That is not a polished corporate statement. That is an admission extracted by a user revolt so large that silence was no longer an option. To understand what that admission means, you have to understand what Microsoft has been doing instead of fixing everyday usability. Windows engineering has been reorganized around AI. Copilot buttons have been added to Notepad, to Paint, and to File Explorer. The official Windows account on X posted a video of Copilot helping a user resize text, and Copilot failed on camera, scaling the entire display when the user asked to make text larger. Microsoft's flagship AI feature cannot perform a task that takes 2 clicks in the Settings menu. And that video was released the same week Davuluri was fighting to contain the backlash about an agentic operating system. This is not a company that prioritized building and then lost track. This is a company that stopped prioritizing fixing and got caught. But Davuluri's admission was actually the smaller of two confessions Microsoft made in November 2025. The larger one was buried in a support article that most Windows users never saw. There is a support article on Microsoft's website called KB5072911. Most Windows 11 users have never seen it. Microsoft did not promote it. Microsoft did not send notifications about it. It appeared quietly in November 2025, and it contains an admission that should have arrived 4 months earlier. In July 2025, Microsoft pushed Cumulative Update KB5062553 to Windows 11 machines running version 2.4H2. That update broke something fundamental, not a peripheral feature, not a niche compatibility issue. It broke the Start menu, the taskbar, File Explorer, the System Settings application, the basic shell components through which every Windows user interacts with their computer. Microsoft's own documentation listed the failures explicitly. Explorer.exe crashes. Start menu experience, host silently failing to launch. The taskbar window disappearing entirely. The System Settings application refusing to open. Shellhost.exe crashes. These are not edge cases. These are the 4 or 5 things most people use Windows to do. And Microsoft said nothing for 4 months. 4 months of IT administrators troubleshooting problems they couldn't source. 4 months of schools and hospitals and government offices running on machines that would crash their interface without warning. 4 months of Microsoft's support infrastructure absorbing calls about failures that Microsoft's own engineers had introduced and had not yet fixed. When the acknowledgement finally came in November 2025, it did not include a timeline for an actual fix. It included PowerShell commands, scripts that IT administrators would have to run manually to re-register the broken packages on every affected machine. The transfer of Microsoft's engineering failure to your IT department dressed up as a workaround. This is not the behavior of a company that made a mistake and corrected it. This is the behavior of a company that made a mistake, said nothing, and then handed the cleanup to the people it had already burdened with its previous mistakes. Because here's the thing about Windows 11's forced update model. You did not choose to install KB5062553. Microsoft pushed it to your machine. Microsoft's software engineers produced the update. Microsoft's quality control process approved it. Microsoft's deployment infrastructure delivered it. And then, when it broke the Start menu for millions of enterprise and education users, Microsoft waited 4 months before acknowledging it and offered a workaround instead of a fix. That is the arrangement. You hand over control of your machine to receive updates you need for security. And what you get back is a broken Start menu and a PowerShell script. That broken operating system is now the only upgrade path for 240 million personal computers that Microsoft has just stranded. In October 2015, Microsoft made a promise. Windows 10 would be supported for a decade. It would be the stable platform that users could rely on. And for most of that decade, it was. IT departments praised its stability. Home users appreciated that it worked without fighting them. It was the version of Windows that felt like Windows again after the touchscreen experiment of Windows 8. October 14th, 2025 was the end of that promise. Microsoft ended free support for Windows 10 on that date. No more security patches, no more bug fixes, no more protection. And Canalys estimates that approximately 240 million personal computers are ineligible for Windows 11, not because they stopped working, but because they don't have a TPM 2.0 chip, or they are running an Intel processor from the wrong generation, or they do not have the specific hardware configuration Microsoft decided was required. Those 240 million machines are doing the same things they were doing the day they were purchased. They browse the web. They run documents and spreadsheets. They handle video calls and email and everything the average person uses a computer for. Microsoft's hardware requirements did not make those machines obsolete. Microsoft's policy did. The alternative Microsoft offers is not free. The Extended Security Update program charges $30 per year for an additional year of security patches on an abandoned platform. That is $30 a year to continue using a machine you already own, running software you already paid for, patched by a company that has already said it does not intend to keep patching it forever. And the upgrade path Microsoft is promoting? Windows 11. The operating system whose core features were silently broken for 4 months. The operating system whose president just admitted it needs work on everyday usability. The operating system that requires new hardware to run, and then runs surveillance features that screenshot your desktop every few seconds. The End of 10 campaign put the number of at-risk devices at between 200 million and 400 million globally. Zorin OS developers called October 2025 their biggest download month in the company's history. These are not Linux hobbyists making a philosophical choice. These are people whose working computers were classified as e-waste by software policy, and who found out that there is a free alternative that runs on those machines right now, today, without requiring new hardware or a subscription. And the final betrayal involves one of the most conservative PC manufacturers in the world making a decision that tells you exactly how confident the industry is in Windows 11's future. Dell has been building Windows computers for over 30 years. Their enterprise product line has set the standard for corporate computing across industries. When Dell makes a product decision, it reflects a calculation involving thousands of enterprise customers, long-term hardware contracts, and an extremely conservative view of risk. On November 20, 2025, Dell announced the Dell Pro Max 16 Plus, a flagship mobile workstation featuring a Qualcomm AI100 discrete NPU, the most advanced AI processing hardware Dell has ever put in a laptop. It is shipping now, with Ubuntu Linux pre-installed. The Windows 11 version of that exact same laptop is not expected until early 2026. Dell reached out directly to confirm the sequencing explicitly. The Linux version ships first, and the Windows version follows. This is not a developer machine for a niche audience. This is Dell's flagship enterprise workstation, marketed to companies with the highest performance requirements and the lowest tolerance for compatibility problems. Dell is telling those customers, if you want this machine today, it runs Ubuntu. Windows will come later. That sequencing reversal is the most significant signal in this entire story, because in the industrial logic of PC manufacturing, the operating system that ships first is the operating system the engineering team optimized for first. The operating system that gets the drivers validated, the firmware tested, the compatibility confirmed before the product leaves the factory. Dell optimized the Pro Max 16 Plus for Ubuntu. Windows was the afterthought. Think about what that means. The company that has shipped Windows as the default on its products for 3 decades decided that on its most advanced new laptop, Linux would be ready first. Not because Linux is a charity project Dell wanted to support, because Ubuntu was ready, and Windows 11 was not. Microsoft cannot undo that decision. Dell has made it. The product is shipping. And every enterprise customer who receives a Dell Pro Max 16 Plus running Ubuntu between now and early 2026 is a customer who discovers firsthand that their most demanding workloads run on Linux, without Windows in the picture at all. So what does this mean for you? It means the company that controls your operating system has admitted it needs fundamental work. It means the government of Australia took Microsoft to court for hiding cheaper options from 2.7 million customers who are being charged 45% more without their knowledge. It means your Windows 11 machine may have been running with a broken start menu since July, and you were the last person Microsoft told. And it means Dell, one of the most conservative PC manufacturers in the world, just shipped its flagship laptop on Ubuntu before it was ready to ship it on Windows. The smart money already made this move. Here's how to make it yourself. Download Ubuntu 24.04 LTS, Linux Mint, or Zorin OS. All three are free. All three are specifically designed for people coming from Windows. Put the installer on a USB drive using a tool called Rufus. Boot from that drive. You are now running Linux without touching a single file on your existing hard drive. Test it. Use it for a week. If it runs everything you need, you have your answer. If you need hardware that comes with Linux already certified and tested, buy a Lenovo ThinkPad, a Dell XPS Developer Edition, or a Framework laptop. All three carry official Linux certification from the manufacturer, no drivers to hunt down, no configuration files to edit. It works from day one. Stop waiting for Microsoft to fix what they have acknowledged needs fixing. Stop paying for updates that break your machine and then hand you a PowerShell script as the solution. Dell already made this decision. Now it is yours to make. Stop letting them own your computer.